The man stood on the edge of the alien market, the smell of burning metal and strange spices heavy in the air. He had been traveling for weeks across dangerous space routes, carrying cargo through pirate zones and broken trade routes. His ship was battered, his fuel was almost gone, and he needed payment for his work. The alien merchant in front of him shifted nervously, his scales twitching as he looked around the market. Other merchants paid in credits or crystals, but this one had nothing left. The human narrowed his eyes. Waiting, the alien finally spoke. His voice low and filled with shame. "I have no money, no credits, no trade goods left." He looked down, avoiding the man's stare. "But I can give you something else. Something valuable." The human's brow furrowed. He had heard tricks before. He had seen merchants try to pass off broken machines or fake gems. He did not like games. "What kind of something?" he asked, his voice sharp. The alien swallowed hard and stepped aside, pointing to a shadowy figure behind him. From the corner of the market stall, a girl stepped forward. Her wrists carried thin metal cuffs, her steps were slow, her eyes were silver. Shining even in the dim light, she looked fragile, her skin pale. Her movements quiet, the merchant said quickly. "She is my payment, she is my slave, she will serve you. She will obey you." The crowd around them grew silent. A few alien eyes turned toward the girl. Whispers rose like smoke. Some looked at her with hunger, some with fear. The human stared at her. His gut twisted. He had never wanted a slave. He never believed in chains. But something about the way she stood caught his attention. She was not broken, not beaten down like most he had seen in darker parts of the galaxy. Her gaze, though calm, carried something hidden, something deep. The man felt it, but he did not understand it. "You offer her as payment for my work?" he asked. His voice hard, the alien nodded quickly. "She is more than enough, more than you think," the man thought for a long moment. He could walk away, demand another form of trade, but the strange stillness in the girl's eyes drew him. She did not beg. She did not cry. She only waited, silent and steady. The man finally gave a short nod. "Fine, I'll take her," he said. His voice was calm, but inside, unease moved like a shadow. The alien merchant sighed with relief, quickly unlocking the girl's cuffs. He pushed her forward almost too quickly, as if he wanted her gone. The human noticed the way the merchant's hands trembled, the way his eyes darted left and right. It was not the relief of a debt paid, it was the fear of a burden thrown away. That made the man's skin prickle. Something was wrong. The girl stepped beside him, silent. The human looked down at her, searching for fear or confusion. But she only met his gaze with those silver eyes. He did not know why, but he felt as if she was the one measuring him. Not the other way around. The market noise returned. Merchants calling out, buyers shouting prices. Yet he felt the quiet around them grow heavier. He shook his head and turned toward his ship. "Let's go," he muttered as they walked. Whispers followed. Some aliens leaned closer, their voices hushed. "Why would he give her away?" one asked. "Does he not know what she is?" another whispered. "Or does he know too well?" The human caught the fragments. And each word tightened the knot in his chest. He clenched his jaw, refusing to look back. By the time he reached his ship, the girl had not spoken a single word. She only looked once at the stars above the trade hub, her lips parting as if she wanted to whisper something. But no sound came. The human stopped at the hatch of his ship. His hand on the metal door, for the first time in years, he felt that the deal he made was not the end of a job, but the beginning of something far larger. He pushed the thought aside, guiding her into the ship. The door sealed behind them with a heavy echo, and the stars outside seemed to watch in silence. The ship drifted away from the alien market, its engines humming low. The human sat in the pilot's chair, eyes on the black stretch of stars. Behind him, the girl sat quietly, her hands folded. She had not spoken a word since stepping on board. He had carried soldiers, merchants, and smugglers across the galaxy, but never had a passenger made the ship feel so different. The silence was heavy, pressing every time she moved. Even a little, the ship seemed to respond. When she walked past the control panels, the lights flickered. When she sat near the engine bay, the hum of the core changed, softer, deeper. The human frowned. Watching from the corner of his eye, machines did not behave this way without reason. He checked the systems twice, and everything read normal. Still, the ship felt alive in a way it never had before. He brought her a tray of food, ration packs he had eaten for years. He placed it in front of her and stepped back. Waiting, the girl looked at it but did not touch. Her silver eyes lifted to his face, calm, empty of fear. "Eat," he said, his voice firm. She only tilted her head, as if she didn't understand hunger. Hours passed, yet her strength never faded. She did not eat, she did not drink. Still, she sat upright, her gaze steady. That night, as he tried to rest in his quarters, he heard a sound, soft, low, like a whisper of wind. He rose and followed the sound through the narrow halls of the ship. His boots made no noise against the steel floor. At the observation window, he stopped. There she was, standing before the endless stars, her lips moving. She was whispering words he could not understand, a language that felt ancient. Older than the planets themselves, he watched in silence. The stars beyond seemed to answer her whispers. The hum of the ship rose and fell like a heartbeat. For a moment he felt the air itself vibrate. When she stopped, everything stilled. The girl turned her head slightly, as if she had known he was there the whole time. Her silver eyes met his, not cold, not afraid. But holding a depth that unsettled him, he wanted to speak, to demand answers. But no words came. She turned back to the stars, and he walked away with a weight in his chest. The next day, while they crossed a quiet sector of space, the scanners picked up unusual signals. Strange ships were trailing behind them, keeping their distance, but never leaving. The human narrowed his eyes. His ship was old, not valuable. Why would anyone follow him? He glanced at the girl who sat silent, staring at the floor. His gut told him the answer had already stepped aboard. Later, when they stopped at a fueling station, the tension grew worse as he paid for fuel. Two cloaked aliens approached him, their voices low, their words sharp. "Sell her," one hissed. "Name your price." He stared at them, his jaw tight. "She's not for sale," he said. The aliens exchanged a glance, their eyes glowing faint in the dim light. "You don't know what she is," the second whispered. "Or maybe you do." Then they slipped back into the crowd, leaving him colder than before when he returned to his ship. He found her standing near the engines, her hands hovered over the metal, and the glow of the core pulsed brighter than ever. She drew back the moment he entered, as if she had been caught. He stepped closer, his voice low. "What are you?" She said nothing, only looked at him with those silver eyes. His chest tightened, because deep down, he knew she was not ordinary, she was something far greater, something hidden. That night, he could not sleep. The ship carried him across the stars, but it felt less like he was the one traveling and more like the girl was leading. Every whisper, every flicker of light, every shadow of pursuit outside reminded him. The deal he made at the market had not brought him a servant. It had brought him a secret, one the galaxy seemed desperate to find. And in his bones he knew his journey had only just begun. The human guided his ship into the crowded docks of a trade hub. The air was thick with smoke from engines, and the voices of dozens of species echoed through the corridors. He needed supplies, he needed fuel, but most of all he needed answers. The girl followed him silently, her silver eyes moving over the chaos around them. Every alien who glanced at her quickly looked away, whispering into their comms. Their stares burned with hunger, with greed, with fear. He stopped at a stall selling spare parts. Placing a small box of damaged metal on the counter, the merchant opened his mouth to bargain. But then his eyes shifted to the girl. The words died in his throat. He leaned closer, his voice trembling. How much for her? The human's jaw tightened. "She's not for sale," he growled. The merchant swallowed and pulled back quickly. But the whispers had already spread. Within minutes, more eyes were following them through the market. The human led the girl down a narrow alley, trying to shake the stairs. A cloaked figure stepped out of the shadows, his voice low and urgent. "You don't know what you carry," he said. The human's hand went to the weapon on his belt. "Then tell me," he snapped. The figure only shook his head. "Some treasures are curses. Some prizes are death." Then he vanished back into the crowd, leaving the man colder than before. As they walked deeper into the hub, More offers came. A miner shouted a price. A trader promised him whole shipments of fuel. Even a soldier leaned in close, whispering that his empire would make him rich beyond measure if he gave her up. The human's fists clenched tighter with each step. The girl never spoke, never flinched. But he noticed her shoulders stiffen when the offers grew louder. It was as if she already knew the danger was growing. That night they returned to the ship. The human paced the control deck, his thoughts racing. Why was she worth so much? Why were so many willing to risk war just to take her? He turned sharply when he heard a sound. At the observation window, the girl stood again, her lips moving in the same ancient whispers. This time, he stepped closer. Listening, the words were soft, but they carried power. They wrapped around him like a song from another world. "Who are you?" he demanded. His voice broke the moment. The girl turned slowly, her silver eyes glowing faint in the dim light. For the first time, she spoke. Her voice was soft, almost like an echo. "I am not what they told you." The human froze. His chest tightened as he waited for more. She lowered her head. "I am memory. I am the last of a people who once ruled the stars. They hunted us, they feared us. Now I'm all that remains." The words hit him like a storm. The alien merchant had not given him a slave. He had handed him the key to something ancient, something priceless. The human took a slow step back. His mind racing, the girl looked at him, calm but heavy with sorrow. "You should not have taken me," she whispered. "Now the galaxy will come for you too." He clenched his fists, anger and fear twisting together. He thought of the whispers, the offers, the eyes watching in the market. It all made sense now. She was not just valuable, she was dangerous. She carried the weight of empires in her mind, knowledge that others would kill for. The human turned to the stars outside the window, his voice low, "Then let them come," behind him. The girl closed her eyes, as if she already knew that the chase had begun. Outside the trade hub, signals spread like wildfire. Fleets moved, hunters prepared, and in the silence of his ship, the human realized the deal he made was no longer a secret exchange. It was the spark of a war he did not yet understand. The ship drifted through empty space, stars stretching across the black like endless fire. The human sat in the control chair, restless. His mind replayed the girl's words, "I am memory." She had spoken only once, yet her voice still echoed in his head. He glanced back at her. Sitting quietly near the observation window, she looked calm, but too calm, as if she was waiting for something he could not see. He leaned forward, his voice low. "What do you mean? Memory?" The girl turned her silver eyes to him, and for the first time he felt their weight. They were not the eyes of someone young or fragile. They were old, impossibly old. "Long ago, my people built worlds," she whispered. "We shaped suns. We bent the void. We carried knowledge that no one else dared to hold." Her hands rested on her knees. "Steady, but others feared us. They destroyed us, burned our cities, shattered our fleets until only one remained. Me?" The human's chest tightened. He had seen wars. He had seen destruction. But the way she spoke made it sound like the fall of gods. He asked slowly, "Why hide as a slave?" The girl lowered her head, her voice heavy. "Because power draws hunters. My kind carried secrets that could make kings, or end them. They put chains on me not to own me, but to hide me." She looked back at the stars, her silver eyes reflecting them like mirrors. "I was never meant to survive, yet here I am." The human stood, pacing the deck, his fists clenched at his sides. He remembered the merchant's trembling hands, the cloaked figure's warning, the desperate offers in the market. All of it circled back to her. She was not a servant, not even a person running from her past. She was a living vault of power, the last fragment of an empire. He stopped, staring at her. "And now they know where you are," he muttered. The girl nodded slowly. "The whispers will spread. The hunters will come. Some will try to buy me. Some will try to steal me. Many will try to kill you for me." Her voice was calm, but it sent a chill through him. "If you let me go, you may live," she said softly. Her words cut sharper than a blade. For a long moment, he said nothing. He looked at her, at the silver eyes that seemed both fragile and endless. He could feel the weight of choice pressing on him. Letting her go might save his life. But every instinct screamed it would mean something worse. Finally, he shook his head, his voice firm. "I don't deal in slaves. And I don't abandon passengers. You stay." Something flickered in her eyes then. Not coldness, not fear, but something closer to sorrow. She rose slowly and walked to the center of the ship. Her bare feet made no sound on the steel floor. She raised one hand, hovering it above the ship's console. The human opened his mouth to stop her. But then the ship came alive. The panels glowed brighter. The hum of the engines deepened. The air itself seemed to vibrate. She closed her eyes, and the systems obeyed her like servants. The navigation lights shifted. Screens filled with streams of symbols he could not read. The human stepped back, his heart racing. "You're controlling it," he whispered. The girl opened her eyes, and silver light flickered within them. "I do not control," she said softly. "I awaken." The ship steadied, more powerful than before. The human felt the deck under his boots thrum with energy he had never known. He stared at her in shock, realizing that this fragile girl, the one he had taken as payment, was unlocking power hidden inside even his old vessel. She lowered her hand and the glow faded. But the ship remained changed, stronger, sharper, alive. She looked at him one last time before turning away, her voice no more than a whisper. "Now you begin to see why I can never be owned." Her words sank into him like stone. And for the first time, the human understood that the journey ahead would not be about trade or survival. It would be about protecting something the galaxy would burn entire worlds to claim. The human had flown dangerous routes before, but never had the stars felt so hostile. Every beacon, every signal on the scanner looked like a threat waiting to appear. The girl sat silent near the window, her silver eyes watching the void. She had awakened his ship, its hum now deeper, stronger. Yet the man could not shake the feeling that it had also awakened the galaxy itself. Enemies were moving, and he could feel them drawing closer. At first it was small, a single shadow on the radar. A ship that trailed too long before vanishing into the dark. Then another, and another. Soon there were 3, then 5. Keeping their distance but never leaving. He cursed under his breath. Tightening his grip on the controls, he had carried smugglers, fugitives, even assassins before. But never had the hunt felt this heavy. This was not pursuit for money. This was pursuit for something priceless. At a fueling station in a quiet sector, the danger grew sharper. The human stepped out to secure the trade. His eyes scanned the crowd. Every stranger looked at him too long. Every whisper cut the air like a knife. When he returned to the ship, a mark was burned into the hull, a symbol he did not recognize. But the girl did. She touched it gently, her voice low. "The hunters have named us," she said. "Now every clan will know where to find us." He swore and punched the console. The girl did not flinch. Her calmness only unsettled him more. "They'll come in fleets now," she said softly. "They will not rest until I am taken." He looked at her sharply, his voice rough. "And if I give you up, they stop chasing me." For the first time, a shadow of pain crossed her face. "Yes," she whispered. "But then you become the man who sold the last of a people." The human turned away, anger boiling in his chest. He told himself he should not care. She was not his problem, not his burden. Yet every glance at her silver eyes dragged him deeper. Something about her presence gnawed at him. Not weakness, not helplessness, but weight, as if she carried entire histories behind her silence. The chase turned violent 3 days later. 3 ships broke from the shadows, speeding toward them with weapons armed. The human cursed, hands flying over the controls. He dove between asteroid fields, engines burning, the hunters fired, blasts shaking the hull. He gritted his teeth, ready to fight, but then the girl placed her hand on the console again. Silver light flickered. The ship responded like a beast unleashed. The engines screamed with power. Shields blazed brighter than suns. The hunters could not keep up. One crashed into a drifting rock. Another spun out in flames. The third tried to retreat. But the girl's touch sent energy flooding into the cannons. A single blast tore the enemy apart. Silence returned, broken only by the hum of their vessel. The human turned to her, his chest tight. "You could have done this from the start." She shook her head slowly. "Power awakens danger. Every time I use it, more will come." greater than before. Her words chilled him more than the battle. He realized the fight had only just begun. The hunters were only the first wave. Already signals lit up the scanners. Fleets shifting, traps forming. He gripped the controls tighter, sweat sliding down his brow. He had taken her as payment, but now he was caught in a war no trade could pay for. As the stars rolled by, the girl whispered something he could barely hear. "You are no longer just a traitor," she said, her voice almost sorrowful. "You are my guardian, and the galaxy will hate you for it." The human said nothing. His eyes stayed on the stars ahead, cold and sharp. He had made his choice without realizing it. He would not give her up, no matter the cost. And so the chase truly began. The hunters stopped hiding. Their shadows no longer lingered on the edge of scanners. Instead, they came in full force. A fleet of warships blocked the star lanes ahead, dark silhouettes stretching across the void. The human sat in the pilot's chair, his jaw locked tight. Beside him, the girl stood silent, her silver eyes glowing faint against the light of the screens. The first transmission came, harsh and sharp. "Surrender the girl," a voice growled through the comms. "Do this, and we will let you live." The human's hand hovered over the switch. His mind told him to flee, to fight another day. But his chest burned with something heavier. He glanced at her, the last of a people hunted to extinction, and he knew there was no surrender. His voice cut cold. "Come and take her." The fleet moved. Engines flared like angry suns. Dozens of ships encircled his vessel, cannons charging. The human gripped the controls. "Ready for the end?" The girl stepped forward, laying her hand on the console. The ship pulsed with light, not bright but alive. The human felt it in his bones, the metal under his feet trembling like a living creature. The screens lit up with symbols he could not read. The girl whispered, "Stand with me." The first volley of fire came. Explosions roared against their shields. The old ship should have shattered, but it held, stronger than before. The girl's silver eyes burned brighter, her other hand stretched to the air, and the ship answered her. Cannons rotated, engines howled, and beams of light ripped through the void. The first enemy ship exploded in a blaze of fire. The human moved with her, his hands on the flight controls. Weaving through the storm of attacks, she guided the ship's heart, he guided its body. Together they danced through destruction. Enemy fire struck again and again, but every time, the shields flared back like a burning wall. Every time they fired, another hunter fell. The man gritted his teeth, sweat running down his face. But inside he felt a strange calm. He was not alone at the helm. The enemy fleet tried to close in. 5 ships broke formation, surrounding them. The girl whispered words that shook the air. The ship roared with ancient strength. And a surge of energy blasted outward. The 5 ships vanished in fire. Torn apart by a power no one in the galaxy had seen for centuries, silence followed for a heartbeat. Then the comms erupted with panic. "They have her," one shouted. "It's true, she lives," another cried. The fleet began to break. Some fled into the dark, others tried to regroup. But fear spread faster than command. The human sat back for a breath. His chest heaving, he looked at the girl. Her face calm but pale, her voice was soft. "This is only the beginning," he wanted to argue. To tell her the fight was over, but the scanners said otherwise. More signals appeared on the edge of the system. Fleets moving, armies rising. He closed his eyes for a moment, then tightened his grip on the controls, his voice low. "Then we keep standing." The girl turned to him, and for the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. Not joy, but recognition, as if she had finally found someone willing to carry the weight beside her. The ship drifted forward, past the burning wreckage, past the scattered enemies fleeing into the void. And the galaxy, watching from hidden corners, whispered in fear. A single human ship had stood against fleets and lived. The stars were quiet again, but it was not the quiet of peace. It was the silence after storms, when the air still holds the taste of fire. The human sat in the pilot's chair, his hands steady, though the battle still echoed in his bones. Wreckage of enemy ships drifted behind them, glowing embers fading into the endless dark. The girl stood at the window, her silver eyes reflecting broken light. He studied her for a long moment. She had unleashed power no human could imagine. She had guided his ship like it was part of her, turned it into a weapon of legends. Yet now she looked small, almost fragile, as if the weight of what she carried pressed down harder than any battle. His voice broke the silence, low and rough. "You could rule worlds with what's inside you." She did not turn. Her voice came soft. "That is why they will never stop hunting me." He leaned back, his chest heavy. "Then why tell me the truth?" he asked. "Why not stay hidden?" She finally turned, her gaze sharp and sorrowful. "Because you did not see chains when you looked at me," she said. "You saw a person, not a prize." Her words cut through him. He had taken her as payment, curious and careless. But somewhere between silence and fire, she had become more. The scanners beeped faintly, showing more fleets gathering on distant edges. The galaxy had seen what she was. The galaxy would not forget. He should have felt fear, but instead he felt something else. A strange calm. A strange resolve. He stood, walking toward her. "They call you Priceless," he said. "But they're wrong," she frowned, silver eyes narrowing. "Then what am I?" He stopped beside her, staring at the stars. "You're not priceless because of your power," he said slowly. "You're priceless because you're alive, because you're the last of your kind, because you deserve more than being hunted." She looked at him, truly looked, and for the first time, her calm broke. Her eyes shimmered, not with light, but with something closer to human tears. She whispered, "You risked your life for me when you had no reason." He shook his head, a faint smile pulling at his lips. "Maybe I had every reason," he said. "Maybe the universe was waiting for this." The girl turned back to the window, her shoulders easing for the first time. She spoke softly. "Then we carry it together, outside." The stars stretched endless and cold, but the ship cut through them with new fire. Hunters would come, fleets would rise, and wars would ignite over the secret now revealed. But the man no longer felt like a traitor running from debts. He felt like something more. He was no longer just the pilot of an old ship. He was guardian of the last ember of an empire, protector of the treasure no one else could hold. And in that vast silence, he realized the truth. He had not taken a slave. He had not accepted payment. He had been given a chance to rewrite history. The girl was not a burden, not a curse, not even just a secret. She was priceless, not because of what she carried, but because she had survived when everything else had fallen. And as long as she breathed, hope still lived in the stars. The human tightened his hands on the controls. Guiding the ship forward, the girl sat beside him now, silent but no longer alone. Together they faced the endless night. And somewhere in the shadows of the galaxy, whispers began to spread. Whispers of a human and a girl with silver eyes, of a single ship that stood against fleets, of a treasure too great to be owned.